share the conclusion of the studio, which has been here for 25 years, but will continue in the hearts, minds, and souls of many people in different ways. So I welcome you all, and Chris would like to introduce the teachers in the room.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to start by introducing Cheryl. She may not be the oldest teacher, but she's been the longest student of mine. And she started with me before I even had Sound Yoga. And she was in my very first teacher training. So I want to thank you, Cheryl, for all the grit that you've given to me. And it's just been amazing, our journey. And she just retired from the studio, how many years ago now? 2019, or just before COVID.
Yeah,
early
part of the fire, so.
Interesting, yeah, before we knew that was going to happen.
Before we knew it was going to happen.
Nice, thank you. And then Julie Walton, not everyone can see because she's kind of off the screen. Here comes Shelley's going to swing. Anyway, so Julie is, I think, my first teacher that taught with me.
I was, and I also worked with you before you had the studio.
Before I was in the studio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's so long ago.
I know, but I think you're right, I was.
Right.
Cheryl came to my first class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were one of the first teachers here, so that's been really wonderful.
Thank you.
And then I want to just introduce everybody to Virginia. Virginia is my first teacher, my first yoga teacher, and still a colleague of mine. She in recent past, she has taught me chanting here at the studio to help me. And so that's been very lovely to reconnect through that way, and we've just become good friends over the years. And I can't remember, I just think, I know we were trying to figure out when it was. When we first met.
Oh, I know when and where. I'll tell that later.
All right.
Don't steal my material.
Don't take your thunder. Okay, great. And then I think that Pat came in next, was my next teacher. That came in, and she was in my second teacher training. Cheryl and two other people were my first, and I think you were my second teacher training.
Yes.
That was a big one. There were 10 in that teacher training. That was crazy. So that was really fun. And Pat taught here until just about the same time, maybe a little bit sooner than Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
She retired a little bit sooner than Cheryl.
Yep.
And then Alan was in the same. Were you in the teacher training Pat was in, or the next one?
The next one with Carrie.
Carrie in the next one. Then Carrie and Alan were in the same teacher training together in, I think it was like 2002 or something like that. And Alan taught a men's yoga class on Sunday morning that was well received by lots of men. We love that. And Carrie's been teaching ongoing here since she became a teacher. I don't know how many years, long time, over 10, maybe 20.
Close to 20.
Close to
around
20.
18, I think.
Right, you might be like second to me. And Julie Fournier came just a few years ago to help me when we needed another teacher, and she is very familiar with our tradition. Not exactly trained in this tradition, but very familiar with the therapeutic value and the way that we teach. So it's been very lovely to have her as part of our family and community. And then Maria is part of the trio of Maria, Carrie, and Shelley, who are still teaching here with me. And Maria's been trained in this tradition of Krishnamacharya yoga. And so she has been really invaluable in bringing many students in from her Finnish community. So that's been kind of fun to see and meet them. Thank goodness for Zoom, or we would never have met them. So it's been lovely. And Shelley, who is behind the camera there, just wave your little hand. Shelley is also one of the teachers here and did her 500-hour training, and I don't know when you finished. 2005? 10?
I think it was 10 or 12.
10 or 12, somewhere in there. And then she's been teaching ever since. And then my friend Julie over here, she's an Ayurvedic practitioner. And she's kind of an anatomy geek, I call her. She won't deny that. And she loves talking about anatomy and has taught my anatomy classes in my teacher trainings for many years now. So I really loved her expertise. And she's also a yoga teacher, so she understands how we use the muscles in asana, and can help you to understand that. So she's been an invaluable contribution to my teaching staff, both of us. And she also is my traveling partner that I go to France with. Yes. So, thank you. Did I miss anybody? Oh, you. This here's my right-hand guy here, Kim.
She's been my teacher for 35 years.
Oh. We've been married for 35 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is my husband, Tim. Some of you may know him, some may not, but he is here to help me today celebrate this lovely space of sound yoga, and even is going to participate with us a little bit. So I'll turn it back over to Virginia.
Let's see. What's next? In a moment, we're going to be chanting some invocations and a couple of other chants, prayer for forgiveness for our mistakes. Don't we all love that there is such a thing as a prayer for forgiveness for our mistakes? Makes you feel like you're setting things right. So before we begin the chanting, I just want to bring your attention to the altar and what's on the altar. And as everyone knows, I know I'm speaking to people who already know, so I'm kind of hesitating about what to say, that our yoga tradition, we're all in the same yoga tradition, except and maybe a couple of exceptions, but it all came out of what used to be called Madras, India, and then changed back to its pre-colonial name, Chennai, which is what the city in Eastern India is called, where the Desikachar family lives. And Krishnamacharya was Desikachar's father, so we have pictures of both Krishnamacharya and Desikachar. And Krishnamacharya was quite old already, 50 years old, when Desikachar was born. So Krishnamacharya had aged quite into, in his 70s, 80s, maybe before Desikachar even studied with him. Because Desikachar went off and got an engineering degree and went to work as an engineer or something, and then something happened, who knows. Some revolutionary light went on, and he decided to leave that and devote himself to learning and sharing his father's teachings, which is what he did then very intently for the rest of his life. And fortunately for all of us, he wasn't afraid to get on airplanes, and he wasn't afraid to learn to speak English very fluently. I don't know when he did that. Probably pretty early on, maybe, as part of his education. So we have this family of very dedicated, passionate yogis to thank for sharing these ancient teachings with us. It's kind of amazing if you think about it, that somehow we ended up, here we are in this room together now after centuries of chanting. Patanjali finally, I guess, kind of codified and wrote down the sutras. Before Patanjali, the guy in the middle there with the, before Patanjali, it was all oral, it was, you memorized it or you didn't have it. Yeah, so now we get to be dumbed down a little bit, we get to read, but, so it's just amazing to me every time I really stop to think about it, how this group of people, what we've received over centuries and centuries from this family and this culture that is nothing like our own, but yet it's so meaningful to us. So it seems like it's so meaningful to just human beings, because human beings are looking for a way to live in deeper peace and to be a better contributor to the human situation we're in. So all the books around are things that Desikachar mostly put out, but also, did you say there's Krishnamacharya maybe?
Mm-hmm.
You wrote books?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are there any questions? Anything come up as we were looking at that? Okay, so Part of the tradition is to honor your teachers and acknowledge them and thank them for the teachings, and that's part of what the invocations are all about. So that's what we're going to do first. And the first one is Sahana, which is the top sheet. Now if my mouth will just stay wet enough, I'll try to. This is my first time to chant with a mask on. Next page, invocations. You might just know part of this, so chant what you know. Shuklambarakaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavaranam Dhyaet Sarvavignopasantaye Yasyadviradhavakradyaha Harishadhyam Parashtatam Vignan Vignanti Satatam Vishvaksenan Tamashraye Jnananandamayan Devam Nirvalaspatikāpratim Adharam Sarvavidyanam Hayagrivamupaśmade Pundarikāsanasinam Pandurabhrendusannibham Akhandabodhajanakam Hayagrivamupaśmade Gurubhyastad Gurubhyascha Namo Bhakamadhimane Pranimate Chatakradyau Dampati Jagatam Pati Shri Krishna Vajayati Shvaratyam Samvata Chakrantravasya Saram Shri Mudnadendra Shri Krishna Mayam Guru Varyamide Virode Kartike Mase Shatatara Kretodayam Yogacharyam Krishna Mayam Guru Varyamaham Bhaje Shishakam Krishna Maryasya Natavam Shakradipakam Kayana Gunarupantam Shri Deshikam Namamyaham Prashanta Purushakaram Viniyoga Pracharakam Vijayashavadikam Surim Kandeshikam Smaramyaham Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. And finally, our prayer for forgiveness for mistakes. So next, Tim is going to read for Wayne, who couldn't be here, a poem that Wayne wrote when Chris opened the studio. And he was just sitting there.
No,
he wasn't.
he's a dear old friend from 35 years plus ago.
Oh,
40
more
years
than
ago.
Tim even.
Way before BT.
So thank you, Tim.
Okay. Yeah, Wayne and Chris were college buddies back in their 20s. And Chris and I met in our early 30s and married. But Wayne has always remained part of our lives. He's the poet and the muse in this triad. So, Prayer for Sacred Space by Wayne Lee for Chris Dormaier at the Blessing at SoundYoga's studio on March 7th, 1998. Bless this place, O God of bamboo. Give freely of your roots and shoots. Let it grow supple and strong like you. Divinities of earth and sky, sanctify this sacred space. Keep it holy and clean. Let the rain fall down like drops of greenest tea. The steam rise up like song. Consecrate this air, O essence of breath. Let it ebb and flow like the eternal lungs of the sea itself. Allow it to learn from the moon. O celestials of light and fire, permit it to burn with the hunger of learning and the thirst for desire. Illuminate our path like paper lanterns swinging in the dark of night. Anoint these walls, O architect of posture. Plant them firm as the land and tall as the trees above this foundation of living earth. O maker of stone, let the weight of intention anchor our minds like juniper roots on a rocky cliff. Help us withstand the wind and the storm, O angels of change. Animate our muscles and bones. Let us move to the music of heartbeat and blood flow. Here are words of gratitude. O muse of poetry, let fair fortune thrive within this room like spears of springtime grass. Grant us prosperity in our every daily act, O soul of abundance. Consecrate our days with laughter, our nights with peace. Leave all who enter here united on this common ground, this hallowed floor, O deities. Of all who came before, conspire to fill this circle with life and fill these lives with love, like sweetest incense on the breeze. O substance of heaven, gathered on this altar of the world. Amen.
Tim? So now we're going to turn towards Patanjali once again. And we're going to chant Yogena, is the next one on your. This is a prayer to Patanjali, so that Patanjali may help us to learn what we need to learn. Yogena chittasya adena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidhyakena yogakaruttam pravaram guninam patanjali pranjali ranatosmi Shakram Shankar-Chakrasidharinam Sahasra-Shirasam Shretam Pranamami Patanjalim Srimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha. Okay, in that same direction, Alan is going to take us through the first sutra and his musings on the first Yoga Sutra.
Okay, well, when we chant the sutras, we often begin with the first sutra, and there's a special meaning to the first sutra because it's the first one. So Patanjali put things in a certain order so we would be able to take advantage of the order. So we're going to begin by chanting the first sutra. I'll chant it once and then we can all chant it 3 more times together. Hatha yoga nushasanam.
Hatha yoga nushasanam. Hatha yoga nushasanam. Hatha yoga nushasanam.
So now I'm going to read something that I wrote for the studio closing about the first sutra. Hatha yoga nushasanam. So begins the study of yoga. We begin this study with humility and gratitude. These teachings come from sages of the past and have been transmitted through the generations. By beginning the study again and again, we learn of the state of yoga and align with the state as we begin practice. Over and over we practice again. Hatha yoga nushasanam. We're always beginning again. Each breath, a new beginning. Sutra 1.1 reminds us of how to begin in a state of readiness, with a willingness to concentrate, nourish a deep interest, and bring forth a sincere effort. We are reminded to let our minds be peaceful and under our control, not controlling us. And now, Chris is closing this beautiful studio that she created for sharing the practice of yoga, for learning of yoga in community. And again, Hatha yoga nushasanam, beginning again with devotion, openness, balance, control, love. Hatha yoga nushasanam.
And now we'll have a few words from Chris, right?
I want to just add a little bit more about the altar. So the big blue candle, purple blue candle in the center represents either, you can think of it a couple of ways. You could think of it as just the light of yoga. You could think of it as the teaching, the teachers of the teachers, and all of those little candles around it represent the teachings and how they flow from one to another. So how the teachers taught their students, who taught their students, who continue to teach their students. And so to honor the teachers, I am going to hand some flowers. This is very traditional, to hand flowers out to each student here in the room as we chant a chant mantra pushpam, which is about, it's often chanted at weddings or celebrations, and I really wanted to think of this as a celebration. And so that's why I chose that chant to honor today. So we'll start with, you're going to pass those out for me, Virginia? Oh,
Yes.
so Virginia's going to pass the flowers out, and then each person will get up and put flowers back on the altar.
So take a handful.
Yeah, you see there's a lot there, so just take a bunch of flowers. And when you're down to the end and there's a bunch left, take 2 bunches. Yes. Get Shelley involved there. Do you want to wait to chant mantra pushpam until you come back and sit down? Okay.
A little quiet's always good medicine.
Yeah.
A lot of quiet.
Big handful.
Oh, thank you. Just like Halloween.
There you go. Right? We'll leave a little for me. There's 3 people here, still need a few. Thank you. You're good, you're good. And also, the flowers often have a beautiful fragrance, as I could smell these as they were just laid into my hands. And so that also has a nice honor to where we are and to honor nature as well. So we're going to chant the mantra Pushpam as each person here in the studio comes up and just lays their flowers. Anyway,
go.
oh, that's, yeah, Maria can start.
Then like clockwise.
Then we'll come around this way.
Okay.
And Shelley can be second.
And you can set your flowers down until so you can use your hands for your chants if you want to, so whatever. Okay. Yopam Pushpamena Pushpavan Prajavan Pashuman Bhavati Chandramava Apam Pushpam Pushpavan Prajavan Pashuman Bhavati Yat Evam Veda Yomayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Adnirva Ahamayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yomayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Apova Admirayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yat Evam Veda Yopamayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Vayurva Ahamayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yogayorayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Vayorayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yat Evam Veda Yopamayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Asalvaitapannapamayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yom Nushyatapata Ayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Apova Amushyatapata Ayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yat Evam Veda Yopamayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Chandramava Apamayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yaschandramasa Ayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Apovai Chandramasa Ayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Yat Evam Veda Yopamayatanam Veda Ayatanavan Bhavati Nakshatrani va Apamayatanam Ayatanavan Bhavati Ayatanam Veda, Ayatanavan Bhavati, Samvatsaro Ma, Ahanayatanam, Ayatanavan Bhavati, Yas Samvatsarasya Ayatanam Veda, Ayatanavan Bhavati, Apovai Samvatsarasya Ayatanam, Ayatanavan Bhavati, Ya Evam Veda. Thank you, everyone. That was lovely. So I guess it's my turn to give you my observations on Chris's journey from my standpoint. I mean, it's, like I said, it's just so amazing, these connections that people make and where they lead and what your life becomes because of them. So just a quick little chronological thing here. In 1978, okay, that's when we get to start. In 1978, I found myself in a little town in South Carolina teaching junior high school, and my husband worked at Clemson University. And I was at a party. I had only been there a few months. And somebody told me about this yoga class, this yoga teacher. And I thought that sounded pretty good. I had a lot of neck and shoulder pain, and I was teaching junior high school. Did I say I was teaching junior high school? So I went to this yoga class, and the woman's name was Jane Young. And so that was my first real yoga teacher. I'd taken maybe a class or two here and there before that. And so Jane Young in South Carolina, and I went every week, and I did some private lessons with her when I got pregnant and all that good stuff. And she was a wonderful teacher. She had originally taught some sort of some yoga that didn't have a name, you know, this generic yoga, if you will. But very soon she attended some workshop where, I don't know if any of you have heard about the Pierces in Atlanta. Martin and Margaret Pierce were a couple in Atlanta, and they have a book. A lovely little book they made in their pajamas, and they were doing their yoga before they go to bed. So she began studying with Martin, who had already been studying with Desikchar for quite a few years, I think. I don't know when Martin started. But so there was this couple of Vinny yogis in Atlanta. We were in South Carolina. Jane started driving, it was like 120 miles or something, driving back and forth to do private lessons with Martin. And next thing I knew, she was going to India, you know, so that's just, you know, like that. Blast off. She was going to go study with Desikchar. So she did, and at the time she went, she was teaching out of her family room. She taught in different spaces. Eventually she bought a studio, but I wasn't there anymore when she bought her studio. So she was teaching in her family room, and when she came back, she had slides, you know. It was back when people had slides. And she showed us these pictures of the Mandaram and being in India and just the whole thing. It was like I'd never seen anything like it. I was just like, wow, will I ever go there? I wonder, you know, will I ever go there? And so that's how the first time I heard about the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandaram and the Desikchar family and this yoga that comes out of India directly. And so I studied with her, continued while I was living there, which was 4 years. And then a couple years, the next major thing that happened was 1986, in the midst of all of that, I had a terrible divorce, went and moved to a country at war, just had this really crazy time in my life. and then was separated from my family. So I went to South Carolina, and I spent 2 months with Jane Young. And I was her only teacher that she ever trained to be a yoga teacher. She didn't have like a teacher training program like Chris does. She was just teaching people, you know. And so I did a 2-month teacher training with her, and then I moved to Seattle. This was like 1986. Moved to Seattle and had secured a spot at Seattle Central Community College in their continuing ed program. I was in their catalog. And so that's where I first taught yoga, 1986, Seattle Central Community College. Yeah. Is that what it's called, Central? Yeah. Yeah. So, 86, 89. So around about 1989, Chris went to, I didn't know Chris yet, never heard of Chris. She went to Maui on vacation or something. And there's a teacher, Gary Craftsau, I'm sure you've all heard of him by now. At the time, that's where he lived and worked there for quite a few years. And so Chris came across his wife, and he were both teaching. You could drop in classes that she went to. So that's how Chris first came across getting yoga, was on vacation on Maui. Yeah.
I forgot that part.
And so they knew that I was coming over there. I was planning to move there in the fall because I wanted to do further studies with Gary. And I wanted to get well. I was having some serious health problems. And so, I lost my train of thought.
In the fall before you left.
Oh yeah, in the fall before I left. I think it was even the spring. Maybe, yeah. I think even that spring, a few months before I left. In pops Chris Dormaier in my yoga class at Seattle Central Community College. And she talks to me after class, you know, and found out I was leaving. She was not happy about that. She was like, "Well, you can't leave now." So I don't know what she did for the 3 years that I lived on Maui. but when I came back, I moved to Olympia and started teaching yoga in Olympia. And she actually drove to Olympia sometimes. I don't know how many times. I don't know either. And did private lessons with me in my little bitty house in Olympia. So that's kind of where we go back to, and then we've both studied with Gary and Sonia, and Chris. Having Sonia up here has meant a lot to me because I had already started studying with Sonia, but I didn't have as frequent access. When she started hosting Sonia for every year, that was really, really supportive and helpful for people who wanted to chant, especially. Yeah. So, you know, I'll just close because I know, you know, we're going to have an open mic and you all can say what you want to say, but, you know, I've just seen Chris's and Tim's focus and dedication and generosity and tremendous energy through personal perils and struggles, and just keep on going, you two. And not always easy, but really, it's been wonderful to behold. And I'm sorry you had to go through such challenging things. But like, that's my dad said when he was getting his open heart surgery, it's all part of life. You know? Oh, okay. So I'll end now, and I wanted to quote one of my yoga students. In my first years in Olympia, I was teaching senior classes at the senior center. And one day at yoga class, in comes a woman we'd never seen before. She was wearing a dress and a hat and a coat, and she had little heels on her, you know, she was all dressed very primly. And she was 92 years old, and her name was Neil Long Shaw. And she introduced herself and said, "Is it okay to begin yoga at 92? You know, sure. You came to the right place, you know. Adapt to the individual. So And this was a particularly close group of women, this particular group, not just because they were older, but they clicked. And they talked about things and got pretty personal and profound, and it was a really interesting place to be. So she came into that. And so at the end of class, we stood in a circle and held hands, and then went around the circle if anybody wanted to say anything they could. After about 3 or 4 classes, we were standing in the circle holding hands, and we went around, and Neil Longshot, this 92-year-old woman who'd taken 3 or 4 yoga classes, had a tear, just a single tear running down her face, and she said, "We have to forgive everyone, everything." So that'll leave you with that quote.
We learn so much from our students.
Yeah.
It's amazing every day. My turn. I am going to start by chanting a sutra. I thought, and somebody said, well, just pick a few sutras that sort of relate to you and what your work is and where you're going. And I just thought, and I teach the sutras, I think about the sutras all the time, and I just thought, boy, this is really tough. And then I came back to a sutra that I love over and over again. I love this sutra. It's Sutra 114, and I'm just going to chant it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it and how it relates to me. Satu dirga kala nairantarya satkara adara asevito trudha bhumihi. And so I wish I could speak extemporaneously, but I know I'd just start crying right away. So I had to write this down and see if I could get through it. When I thought about today, I kept coming back to all of you, the students and the teachers. I have always thought of my teaching as a ministry, a calling to share my knowledge with students who want to commit to their own health and well-being. This sutra honors practice over a long time with a positive attitude. I think of all of you. There isn't instant gratification, but over the years, you have all felt the benefits of yoga. I want to thank you all for your love and support. This space we call Sound Yoga has given you a refuge from your day-to-day world. Entering through the courtyard as a transition, and then into the studio to practice and be in your own inner world. We have all loved this space and will miss it, but we will always have our memories. As we move forward, it is not into the unknown. Well, maybe a little bit. And we will continue on Zoom and one day a week in person. For those of you who have made Zoom work for you, I commend you. It shows the yoga spirit. For those who returned in person, it is another kind of bravery almost, I think. One that is still evolving. Once again, I would like to just say how grateful I am that you have put your trust in me and all that is Sound Yoga. Namaste. So I would like to honor the teachers, and as I was thinking about this, I really couldn't even figure out what to give you all. I mean, there's just nothing, I don't have it big enough to give you to show my face.
Oh, thank you, Chris.
I thought I would make it, but I didn't. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Julie. Oh, of course. Yeah. Whoa, okay, everybody okay?
Yeah.
Shelley.
Thank you.
Julie. Oh, I haven't seen you in a long time. Thank you so much. Whoops, let me see, wait a minute. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, well. You got a funny little candle, it's just a different little candle. Sweet. You got a big candle. What's that funny little candle is for Julie. So I really wanted to share with everyone a big candle, because I really feel like you were the ones who shared the teaching and brought it forward. Cheryl. So thank you to all the teachers, and thank you for joining me today. We're not quite done, but that part.
Have you done?
I think I'm done. I think I'm done.
Okay, now we're to the key ceremony.
Yeah. So do you want me to talk about that? Yeah. Okay. So I was thinking, I love ceremony, and I love, bringing things full circle. And when teachers came to teach here, they all got a key. Mine doesn't have purple in it, but usually it was purple or blue. When they ran out of purple at True Value, I had to get green or blue or something. And so everyone was given a key. I'm sure when the new owner comes in and the day after I leave and sees this big pile of keys, he's gonna go, who else has a key to this place? Who else is gonna get in here? So I wanted to, today, have a little ceremony where we turn our keys in. So I'm gonna chant Purnamada and once, and then the group will chant with me. And for those of you who know Purnamada, know about it, it's my mantra. And it is a sutra, it's a chant about gratitude. I really think it's about gratitude, and it's about having all that we have. And even when something is taken away from us, we still have all that we need and are still able to share what we already have. And I feel like that with the studio and with all of you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om, together. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.
Okay, we've come to the time of open mic. In other words, if anyone wants to share anything, this is the time that you can do that.
And we'll start here in the studio, so if anybody has anything they'd like to share, they can.
I just have something to share. I just want to honor the students who've come through, hundreds of students that have come through here. And I know that students came to me who were very healthy and strong and, really gutsy. And students came who were very ill. And I remember a student who had cancer and her support group came with her. So she came, and was enriched by that grouping with her. And I even had a student die, who was very ill and died during that time. But she came and her husband would bring her in and she'd sit in a chair on that corner. I mean, that's just Carol's corner to me. She'd sit there and he'd help her. And he'd come and he was so loving, he'd take her to the bathroom and then he'd take her out at the end and then she died. So I just want to honor all those lives that touched us. See, I cried too, who touched us profoundly with the experience they were going through and who shared it with us willingly and lovingly. And I'll never forget them. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something. So, you helped me on my journey into Vinny Yoga. Vinny Yoga was pretty scarce at that time in terms of exposure and publications and things like that. And so I had gotten interested in yoga even when I was in my late teens. And then when I was living here, I had this boyfriend I could never get rid of. And he was the one who told me he was into Vinny Yoga, who referred me to Chris. And he was, I think around that time, maybe The Heart of Yoga had been published, and we went to a retreat up on Whidbey Island, and he came out here. And so I started doing privates with Chris, actually, because I was thinking, is there anyone around anywhere? There weren't that many, Vinny Yoga teachers, so that's how I got started. And then I worked teaching here, met Cheryl and Pat, a bunch of people. And so that was a really great beginning for me to be able to dive into my own practice and to teach. And it's just kind of, and then I went on to, study with Gary and get certified as teacher and therapist as well. So I've been on that path for a long time, and then currently study with Richard Miller. And I've always had another career, but I've been doing both. And today I'm teaching at a couple of Ys. I'm teaching seniors. And yeah, it's a really long journey personally, and then all the way through, I really just appreciate how much you supported and helped me
Thank you.
on my way, and really a lot of
And I appreciate you
Yes.
wanting to teach here.
yeah,
It was a tough time there in the beginning.
I know.
We had one or two people in our classes.
Cheryl came to my first class. I think she was a plant for you. Yeah. But
You told me of,
yeah. And so but it was good though. It was really good. And then through here, I also did that work that you had contracted with Team Survivor Northwest, with women cancer survivors in and post-treatment. And I taught that class over in Rainier Beach. It was through SoundYoga, and I did that for a few years, and that was really profound as well.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it's been, I really love what you've put together here today, because I'm traveling back through decades of my own time with you and through you that provided me so many opportunities, and really close with Cheryl and Pat, for a long time came to my classes early on. And
I will just give a quick note on Julie on her Shavasana. It was late at night. And we thought she had fallen asleep a number of times.
Your teacher fell asleep.
Yeah, and we just, Carolyn Jackson was in it.
Jackie Morgan.
Jackie Morgan, and so a couple of times we're wondering, is she sleepy? Is she dead?
Right. And I remember I also developed that class where you go from birth to death.
Yes.
And people are like, oh my God, she's going to make us die again?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Last week.
Yeah, that's a cycle through,
Yeah.
Anyway,
So just
that's
all
really
the
funny. funny.
I know, it's just the experiences and, you know, Chris and I, we had a place in Chelan and Chris and I would spend many an hour on what we called the beach, which was really not a beach, but it was just really nice to get to know her and spend time with her, and I just thank her for all the teachings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Aw, so sweet.
Tim?
So when I met Chris, she had this wonderful corporate job. And I brought 3 young children into the marriage, and this is gonna work. Then she decided to study yoga, and I had no idea what this was about, but this is what she wanted to do. So she, for many years, did her training. Then she quits her.
I didn't quit, I got laid off.
She decides not to work in the corporate world anymore. Wants to open up a studio, and this is again very confusing for me, but let's give it a go. And but over the course of the years, I came to realize something. You used the word ministry. I think I may have given you that word.
You maybe did.
Because when I looked around, 75% or more of the yoga practitioners were women. And this is an opportunity for women to minister to women, because many of you came out of religious traditions that were not kind to women, and this then gave you an opportunity to heal and to teach one another, and it's a wonderful thing.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, Alan?
We first met Chris when I was a student in one of Gary Crafthow's workshops here in Seattle, and you were a proctor there. And I was interested in this. It was all very exciting to me, and I just felt like you took me under your wing, and I just want to really honor you for your tremendous generosity and how grateful I've been to the world that you've opened up to me here, and this beautiful studio that you've made that we've all been able to teach in and share the practices that we've learned. Has been, I know it's been something that has, I just want to thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Alan.
So
You're
much.
welcome. I've enjoyed the journey with you as well. We've been on road trips together. It's been fun.
Speak of road trip.
Road trip, that's my road trip.
Actually, I won't speak of road trips, but, oh, that might be the next thing here. I was thinking, because I can't remember when I was
I
here.
know it, I
And
can't
we've
think
gone over and over and was it here or was it there? I don't. Anyway, I'm glad our paths crossed. But I was thinking about spaces, because when I closed my studio in Basham, we had a ceremony and a big potluck. And I always said to my students, yoga is an insidious practice. Because, when it comes in thinking, oh, let's just do some exercise and get stretched out, and then it happens, the hook gets set and it's like, oh, it's so much more than that. So to be able to keep a sacred and blessed space for 25 years for learning about who you are in the world. It just fills my heart.
Thank you.
It's I know from my own experience that sometimes just the smallest thing you can say, I mean, it may be one word, and it may be something you said over and over and over again, but that at that one point when that student is ready to hear it, they hear it, and it changes everything. Things just suddenly blossom, and that's the joy of teaching. And so to have maintained this space for that purpose for so many years.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have to mention Ajahn and the Sanskrit.
Hmm?
Oh, I forgot to mention the Sanskrit teacher that we had here.
Oh, right,
Ajahn.
yeah, we did Sanskrit training here for 7 years.
Yeah.
Probably not very many people would do that, that's the craziest of us that were there,
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah,
not,
so that was,
oh, let's go take Sanskrit.
there's not much access to that, to
Mm-mm.
teacher directly like that. That was really, it was a blast.
Blessed to have that.
Yeah, so that was a big thing too.
We have anyone in the outer world that wants to share anything?
Erin, hi, I didn't even know you were out there. Yeah. Erin used to teach here thousands of years ago. She's in Colorado.
So, Chris, it's wonderful to see you all and hear your voices, and many memories. I now live in Colorado. I've been there for 5 years, and I use what I've learned at Sound Yoga every day. I've worked in mental health the last 4 years, and it just such a gift. And one of the, besides the class where we asked, "Who am I?" for 2 days, I think that was Ajah's class. But going to yoga was life-changing, and I probably think of it or talk about it once a week, and that's how life-changing India was. And from that experience, when we were in Pondicherry, I ended up meeting a gentleman there, the houseman, and have been friends with that family now for 11 years. And I'm the godmother for his daughter. And so they moved to Germany. So we are in contact often because of that experience that we had in India. So, but I love you all. I miss you. I can feel that nice warm floor. It's 12 degrees here. And and just the rock in the corner. And, you know, when I go in my head someplace safe, it's your studio. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Erin. It's so nice to see you. In 2006, Erin was part of a group that went with me to India. Cheryl and Pat were also part of that group. There were six of us brave souls. Wonderful.
Yeah, what an experience.
Yeah, it was quite an
We'll never forget it.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else out there who would like to speak?
Chris, I just want to express my gratitude to you and to all of the teachers, even those of you that I've not worked with, and to all of the students, the whole community, and the space, the beautiful space that you created. It's had a profound effect on my life. And here at the time I've been here in Seattle, I'm shedding a tear for that the studio is going away, but the community that you all create and sustain is filling my heart. So there's gratitude most of all. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. This is my last little thanks, not forever, just for now. I would just once again like to thank everyone who's joined me here today in this celebration and in this wonderful ceremony to honor our teachers and the teachings and all that is Sound Yoga. And think about going forward and what this means to you and how this yoga has changed your life and will continue to change your life as you continue to practice yoga. We're gonna finish with a chant to Ganapati, and it's a chant about removing obstacles. So it could be obstacles that you have in your present time, or obstacles that might be coming in the future, or just a way to acknowledge that we know there's obstacles in our life and we're ready for them. We're ready to just move through them in whatever graceful way that we are able to. And so today we're going to chant the Samhita. This is a chant that has many different sections, and today we're just going to chant the first part.
And then finally, we'll chant Om Shanti 3 times together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. See you in class.